Why was David sent from Bethlehem to the battlefield by Jesse? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 1 Samuel on walking through the Bible. Today we're going to be discussing 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 12 to 27. But before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, turn to 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 12. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 1 Samuel chapter 17, beginning at verse 12. Now David was the son of the Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and who had 8 sons. And the man was old, advanced in years, in the days of Saul. The 3 oldest sons of Jesse had gone to follow Saul to battle. The names of his 3 sons who went to battle were Eliab the firstborn, next to him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. David was the youngest, and the 3 oldest followed Saul. But David occasionally went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistines drew near and presented himself 40 days, morning and evening. Then Jesse said to his son David, "Take now for your brothers an ephah of this dried grain, and these 10 loaves, and run to your brothers at the camp. And carry these 10 cheeses to the captain of their 1,000, and see how your brothers fare, and bring back news of them." Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. So David rose early in the morning, left the sheep with a keeper, and took the things, and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the camp as the army was going out to fight, and shouting for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had drawn up in battle array, army against army. And David left his supplies in the hand of the supply keeper, ran to the army, and came and greeted his brothers. Then, as he talked with them, there was the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, coming up from the armies of the Philistines. And he spoke according to the same words. So David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were dreadfully afraid. So the men of Israel said, "Have you seen this man who has come up? Surely he has come up to defy Israel, and it shall be that the man who kills him, the king will enrich with great riches, will give him his daughter, and give his father's house exemption from taxes in Israel." Then David spoke to the men who stood by him, saying, "What shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God?" And the people answered him in this manner, saying, "So shall it be done for the man who kills him." Israel is gathered to battle the Philistines near the Elah Valley in southwestern Judah, near the Judah-Philistine border. On one side you have the Philistine army, led by their champion Goliath, a giant that stood about 9 feet tall. And on the other side you had Saul's army, an army that should have had confidence because God was on their side, but one gripped in fear because of Goliath. That Saul's army was in such a state shows us how far Saul had fallen away from God, in that he no longer trusted in the Lord for victory, nor was he eager to offer sacrifices before going into battle. Coming to verse 12 now, the scene shifts to Bethlehem. It is there that we again find David, who is introduced to us for the second time. David is the youngest son of Jesse's 8 sons. The 3 oldest we met briefly back in chapter 16. These 3 oldest sons followed Saul into battle, but David, who was a keeper of the sheep and probably too young to be considered a man of war, remained home, only going from time to time to see Saul. Again, verses 12 to 15 seem to be parenthetical to the story at hand, and so it is the author's comment on David's lineage, not to be taken as a chronological part of the chapter. From chapter 17, though, we find that Jesse is advanced in age during the days of Saul, which, depending on how many people are missing from the genealogies at the end of the book of Ruth, could place Jesse in his 60s or 70s. Stating that Jesse is advanced in years gives us the reason that he is not out in the battlefield. He is too old. For 40 days, the Philistine Goliath presented himself before Israel with his challenge to send someone out to fight him, and for 40 days Israel didn't do so out of fear. With the army away so long, Jesse wanted to know about the condition of his sons, so he sent David with some provisions, not only for his sons, but for the captains of the army. David's task was to deliver the provisions, get the report from his brothers, and then return to tell Jesse. When David arrives, what he finds is Goliath taunting Israel, and Israel cowering in fear. David inquires what is going on, is told the situation, and then is told that whomever comes up and kills Goliath will be rewarded by the king with great riches, his daughter's hand in marriage, and his family will even be exempted from taxes, which might also include other types of service for the king. That Saul was able to do these things does show us that he has been king for quite some time, further enhancing our timeline of this being between 28 to 29 years into Saul's reign. Now, unlike Israel's army, David does not stand in fear of this uncircumcised Philistine, for who is he to defy the armies of the living God? By saying this, David was heavily implying that he was willing to go and fight Goliath. The question is, would he really? We'll discuss that, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 28 to 37, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.